you, Max. I've got the chills now. Do you guys serve tea?
When Two Broke Girls hit TV screens, it quickly became a fan favorite with its edgy humor and quirky characters.
And she does not like the feel of a condom!
Racking up high ratings and a loyal audience. But despite its popularity, the show was suddenly canceled after 6 seasons, leaving fans wondering what really went wrong.
I know I said 250 earlier, but...
Bull crap! 150 or we walk, bitch!
Okay, let's all just calm down. That's a really good deal, Max.
From jokes that might have been way too risky for its time,
I know you're upset.
I was baiting.
I love my job.
to behind-the-scenes drama that no one could have seen coming.
So awesome. We love it here. It's really fun.
Let's talk about the setup you have at the Brooklyn Diner. How beautiful is this?
Who are both broke at the same time. I play Max, who has been broke all her life, and she's very practical, very tough.
Here's the real truth behind why Two Broke Girls was canceled. 1. The crazy jokes got old, fast.
As soon as the ladies calm down.
Are you kidding? Show him what he's missing. Let him pop, playa.
Two Broke Girls launched with a storyline that promised a mix of edgy humor and a classic underdog narrative. The show's premise was appealing. 2 struggling waitresses with vastly different backgrounds. Max, raised in poverty, and Caroline, a former heiress whose family lost everything.
Hey, you! Doctor, I forget your name.
How? It's written on every wall.
Okay, Dr. Exit.
Bond over their shared goal of starting a cupcake business. This unique setup allowed the series to tackle themes like friendship, ambition, and resilience in a city as tough as New York. You basically had elements from Sex and the City, Friends, and How I Met Your Mother mashed into one. The humor, however, was designed to be brash and unapologetic, aiming to stand out in a TV landscape that often played it safe.
Waitress. Dude.
Hi, what can I get you?
We need some.
Max's rough-edged humor and sharp comebacks, often tinged with innuendo, were central to the show's style. At first, this approach set Two Broke Girls apart, attracting viewers who enjoyed its unfiltered take on life's hardships. But as the series continued, the jokes became increasingly bold, leaning heavily into crude sexual references. The shock value humor, while initially appealing to some viewers, started drawing backlash for what critics saw as reliance on lazy, one-dimensional portrayals and overtly raunchy content.
I'm afraid if I start writing that down, it'll turn into a suicide note.
In 2017, a piece in the Washington Post labeled Two Broke Girls the filthiest show on network television, a sentiment that resonated with some audiences who felt the show sacrificed wit for shock. Between the 91 complaints to the FCC and increasing criticism, it became clear that the line between edgy and excessive was being crossed in the eyes of many. Though, Two Broke Girls maintained a loyal fan base and ran for 6 seasons, the ongoing controversies over its humor ultimately clouded its legacy. What began as a fresh take on 2 women hustling to achieve the American dream,
I'm gonna miss him when he's gone. Max, are you listening?
ended up overshadowed by a reputation for pushing boundaries in ways that not all audiences found palatable. It ended up becoming cringeworthy for the same reason it was loved for. The showrunners didn't realize that they were taking things one step too far and building the entire show around how many shocking jokes they can throw in there while also staying on TV. But they took it one step too far. The audiences were just not having it. 2. The racism wasn't as fun as they presented it to be.
Don't get involved with her. She takes money from the homeless.
Not true. Bob's an investor. Be right back.
Two Broke Girls faced significant criticism for its use of racial stereotypes, particularly in the portrayal of its diverse supporting characters. The New Yorker described the show's approach as so racist it is less offensive than baffling, highlighting how several characters seemed more like exaggerated caricatures than genuine representations. A recurring target of this criticism was Han Lee, the Korean-American diner owner played by Matthew Moy. Han's character was written as short, asexual, and overly serious. Often mocked for his thick accent and lack of cultural awareness, which led many to view him as a stereotypical depiction of an immigrant struggling to get American culture. Han was almost always the butt of the joke, not only for being Asian, but also for being short. The show ripped the man to shreds, and with that, they were also affecting all of their Asian viewers. Moy defended his role and the show's humor, explaining to the Los Angeles Times that the comedy stemmed from a place of affection rather than malice. He admitted understanding the concern, but felt the show's intention was never to be mean-spirited. "We're a comedy, and we often go right to the edge," he said, adding that he'd experienced teasing throughout his life and could relate to the character. Beth Bears, who played Caroline, also defended the show, arguing in an interview with Entertainment Weekly that criticism is inevitable. People are always going to have a problem with something. This stance didn't sit well with all viewers, especially as cultural conversations on representation grew more prominent. The reliance on stereotypes felt increasingly outdated, and what once might have been overlooked as edgy humor became a focal point in discussions on harmful portrayals. As a result, Two Broke Girls began to face escalating scrutiny, with many arguing that its humor perpetuated hurtful cliches rather than breaking new ground in comedy. 3. The critics absolutely hated it. Critics described the show as lacking substance, resorting to cheap and predictable jokes. The Hollywood Reporter went so far as to label it the most disappointing new sitcom of the fall. They acknowledged that while the show had potential, it squandered it with humor that felt stale and uninspired. This initial wave of criticism set a tone that would follow the series throughout its run. Critics took issue not only with the quality of the jokes, but also with the show's overall tone. Vulture pointed out that the humor was often mean-spirited, raising questions about whether it was necessary for the comedy to come at the expense of its characters. This critique became increasingly relevant as the show relied heavily on stereotypes and one-dimensional characters. For instance, the supporting cast of characters, who included a diverse range of ethnic backgrounds, were often portrayed in ways that perpetuated outdated racial tropes. This led to discussions about the cultural implications of the humor and whether it had a place in modern television. The January 2012 press tour at the Television Critics Association highlighted these concerns, as journalists confronted the series' stars and producers about the show's perceived shortcomings. They raised issues regarding the one-note nature of the supporting characters, asking why the writers leaned so heavily on sexual innuendos and racial stereotypes. These questions marked a turning point where critics began to challenge the show's creators more aggressively, highlighting the disconnect between the intended humor and its actual impact on viewers. As the series progressed, reviews became increasingly scathing. By 2015, Pop Matters suggested that Two Broke Girls had lost momentum and was on the path to comedy bankruptcy. This characterization reflected a growing sentiment that the show had failed to evolve or adapt to changing viewer expectations. The humor began to feel repetitive, and audiences seemed to tire of the same tired jokes and storylines. In 2016, the Boston Globe asked the crazy question, "Is Two Broke Girls the worst sitcom on TV?" This critique symbolized the show's rapid decline in both critical and popular reception. While it had garnered a loyal fan base during its earlier seasons, it became increasingly difficult for viewers and critics alike to justify its continued presence on the air. The series' reliance on stereotypes and formulaic humor, combined with a changing television landscape that favored more nuanced storytelling, ultimately contributed to its cancellation in 2017. But there was more to it. The show even disappointed the network itself. Two Broke Girls failed to meet CBS's expectations as a flagship sitcom, especially as the network sought to enhance its comedy lineup. When it premiered in 2011, CBS envisioned the show as a key player in its Monday night comedy block. The network's strategy involved leveraging the existing success of 2.5 Men, which had moved to Thursdays to create the perfect 2-hour comedy block on that night. CBS anticipated that Two Broke Girls would serve as the anchor for its Monday lineup, ideally drawing viewers into its new shows. However, the reality did not align with this vision. For the 2013-2014 season, CBS introduced additional comedies on Mondays, hoping that We Are Men, which aired just before Two Broke Girls, would attract audiences and create a solid lead-in for the latter show. Unfortunately, We Are Men failed to capture viewers' attention, leading CBS to pull it from the schedule entirely. This failure to generate a consistent audience placed additional pressure on Two Broke Girls, which was already struggling with critical backlash and declining viewership. In response to these challenges, CBS shifted Two Broke Girls to an earlier time slot, hoping to rejuvenate its ratings. The network moved Melissa McCarthy's Mike and Molly to 9 p.m., making it the new anchor show. This change reflected the growing recognition that Two Broke Girls was not strong enough to support the network's broader ambitions. Critics and fans alike noted that the show's humor had grown stale, and its reliance on stereotypes was increasingly problematic. The shift in time slots further proved the network's diminishing confidence in Two Broke Girls. It had not only lost its status as a potential anchor show, but was now also competing with newer sitcoms that audiences found more appealing. CBS's expectations for Two Broke Girls had been high. The network wanted a show that could stand alongside its most popular programs and help build a cohesive comedy lineup. As the viewership numbers continued to decline, it became clear that Two Broke Girls had not fulfilled its promise as the anchor CBS had hoped it would. 4. The ratings were tanking too. Two Broke Girls appeared to be in a solid position as it wrapped up its sixth season, with ratings that initially suggested the potential for renewal. The show averaged a 1.3 same-day rating in the key 18 to 49 demographic, drawing in approximately 5.62 million viewers per episode. These figures aligned closely with other CBS comedies that the network opted to renew, like Man with a Plan and Life in Pieces. However, a deeper analysis of the ratings showed the real truth behind what was actually going on, revealing a gradual but significant decline in viewership. The decline became evident when comparing the season premiere ratings with those of the season finale. The sixth season kicked off in October 2016 with a respectable 1.7 rating in the 18 to 49 demographic and over 6.3 million total viewers. By the time the season finale aired in April 2017, the ratings had dropped to a concerning 1.04 in the same demographic, with total viewership dwindling to just over 4.5 million. This sharp decrease of nearly 2 million viewers over the course of the season raised red flags about the show's long-term viability. While the ratings weren't the sole reason for the show's cancellation, they undoubtedly played a crucial role in CBS's decision-making process. Television networks often weigh viewer numbers heavily when determining whether to renew or cancel a show. A loss of nearly 2 million viewers within a single season is significant and sends a message that the series might be losing its appeal. Even if the average ratings still seemed adequate compared to other comedies, the downward trajectory could not be overlooked. The network's increasing awareness of audience preferences and changing tastes further complicated the situation for Two Broke Girls. As viewers turned to streaming platforms for diverse storytelling and nuanced characters, CBS found itself under pressure to align its programming with evolving audience expectations. In this context, even a modest decline in viewership could spell trouble for a show that had once enjoyed considerable popularity. As the landscape of television continued to shift, Two Broke Girls struggled to adapt, and the consequences of declining ratings became evident. The once promising sitcom, which had aimed to address financial struggles with humor, ultimately fell victim to a changing industry and an inability to retain its audience. The combination of a significant ratings drop and the network's shifting priorities led to its cancellation. 5. They were picking on people well beyond their own size. A particularly controversial moment arose in 2015 when a joke from the character Han Lee, played by Matthew Moy, sparked outrage in Australia. The line in question was delivered while Han was discussing a romantic interest. "I'm in a casual flirtation with a woman in Australia. She's part Aboriginal, but has a great personality." This joke quickly became a flashpoint for accusations of racism. The backlash was swift and fierce, with viewers expressing their outrage through comments on the show's now defunct Facebook page. Critics condemned the joke for belittling the First Nations people of Australia, with one commenter calling it a disgustingly racist comment about Aboriginal women, insisting that it was not at all effing funny. Such strong reactions highlighted a broader dissatisfaction with how the show portrayed characters of the different backgrounds, often relying on stereotypes rather than nuanced humor. The controversy caught the attention of high-profile figures, including Kevin Rudd, a former Prime Minister of Australia. Rudd took to Twitter to voice his disapproval, describing the joke as a pathetic attempt at racist humor that exemplified the low standards of American comedy. He called for Two Broke Girls to issue an apology, emphasizing that humor should not come at the expense of marginalized communities. Rudd's comments underscored the growing scrutiny of media representations and the responsibility that creators have when addressing diverse cultures and backgrounds. This incident served as a critical moment for the show, reinforcing the perception that Two Broke Girls relied on cheap laughs derived from racial stereotypes. Critics argued that the show's humor often did that with the strange and shallow jokes, reducing complex social issues to one-liners that alienated viewers rather than fostering understanding or dialogue. As the cultural conversation around representation in media evolved, so too did the expectations for how stories involving diverse characters should be told. The backlash against the joke reflected a broader discontent with the series' handling of race and ethnicity. Such incidents contributed to the mounting criticism that the show faced over its six-season run, culminating in questions about its relevance and appropriateness in a changing television landscape. The response to the racially charged joke exemplified how humor that doesn't engage with cultural sensitivity can lead to backlash and calls for accountability, ultimately contributing to the show's declining reputation and viewership. 6. Things weren't great behind the scenes either. The cancellation of Two Broke Girls was not merely the end of a sitcom, but the result of intense behind-the-scenes negotiations that highlighted the complexities of network television dynamics. Fans were largely unaware of the struggle unfolding between CBS, the network airing the show, and Warner Bros. Television, the studio responsible for its production. Reports in April 2017 from Deadline indicated that intense negotiations had reached a critical point, foreshadowing the eventual decision to cancel the series. Financial considerations played a crucial role in this tug-of-war. Two Broke Girls proved to be a profitable venture for Warner Bros. The sitcom had managed to secure a lucrative syndication deal, with episodes slated to air on TBS at a staggering $1.7 million per episode. This financial success, however, left CBS in a difficult position. Since CBS did not own the rights to the show, it would not benefit from the syndication profits. This disconnect likely contributed to CBS's decision to cut ties with a show that, while successful in terms of production, offered little to the network in terms of ownership and revenue sharing. Following the syndication deal, CBS's cancellation of Two Broke Girls seemed almost inevitable. The network's desire to cut costs and prioritize ownership stakes over externally produced content hinted at a strategic shift in programming priorities. The news came as a shock to many involved with the show, particularly to Michelle Nader, the showrunner. Upon hearing of the cancellation, Nader expressed her dismay and determination, stating, "This is not the end for these girls." Her sentiment captured the passion and commitment of the cast and crew, who believed in the show's potential, insisting that the story of the titular characters was far from over. Despite Nader's resolve, the dynamics of television production and distribution made it challenging to pivot or negotiate alternatives once CBS had made its decision. The industry often moves quickly, and with Two Broke Girls facing increasing scrutiny for its racial insensitivity and diminishing ratings, CBS's decision felt final. The sitcom had struggled to maintain the audience it initially attracted, with viewership declining sharply by the end of its sixth season, further complicating its chances of survival. 7. There were issues with the ownership, too. As noted by The Hollywood Reporter, CBC's decision to pull the plug on Two Broke Girls demonstrated the clear connection between ownership and cancellation. In the competitive landscape of television, networks have become more inclined to develop content that they own entirely, thus minimizing the risk of losing out on profits to external studios. In fact, CBS's programming decisions for the 2017-2018 season revealed a strong preference for pilots that were either partially or entirely owned by the network itself. Out of 16 new pilots picked up, 9 fell under this category, signaling a significant shift in strategy. Had Two Broke Girls been produced by a CBS-affiliated studio, its future might have unfolded quite differently. The financial incentives tied to ownership, would likely have motivated CBS to keep the show on air, regardless of its mixed critical reception or the controversy surrounding its content. However, the existing arrangement with Warner Brothers left CBS with little choice but to cancel the show, underscoring how ownership stakes can ultimately dictate a series' lifespan. 8. The network tried to play it off at first. When CBS decided to cancel Two Broke Girls, the network offered a creative rationale that aimed to frame the decision in a positive light. CBS scheduling chief Kelly Cole, who would later ascend to network president, articulated the network's perspective in a 2017 interview with Deadline. He suggested that the sitcom had simply run its course creatively. According to Cole, the network felt that it was time to move on, especially as new, promising comedy projects awaited their chance to air. He remarked, "Our comedy development this year was very good. And whenever your comedy development is really good, it puts a lot of pressure on some of your older shows." Cale's comments imply that the decision was influenced by a desire to refresh the lineup, rather than solely a response to declining ratings or ownership disputes. This sentiment highlights how networks often face the challenge of balancing established shows with new talent and fresh ideas. In Cole's view, the network needed to create space on the schedule to accommodate new products, indicating a strategic shift toward innovation and revitalization. Despite the criticisms and controversies surrounding Two Broke Girls, including its handling of sensitive topics and racial issues, Cole maintained that the ownership problems with Warner Bros. Television played no part in the cancellation decision. He emphasized that CBS's choice to pull the plug was a creative decision rather than a financial one. This assertion aimed to downplay any implications that ownership disputes were a significant factor in the show's cancellation, attempting to shift the narrative toward a more optimistic viewpoint about the future of CBS's comedy lineup. 9. But Kat wasn't going to leave everyone hanging like that. The cancellation of Two Broke Girls caught both the cast and its dedicated fan base off guard, particularly since the 6th season ended with an optimistic outlook for a 7th. Kat Dennings, who portrayed Max, expressed her disappointment in an interview, noting the unresolved storylines that left fans yearning for closure. She emphasized that the show's conclusion did not provide the resolution viewers deserved after investing 6 years in the characters' journeys. Dennings highlighted the expectation for a wedding storyline, as the series' co-creator, Michael Patrick King, had previously indicated plans for future developments, making the abrupt cancellation all the more disheartening. She shared her desire for a 2-hour special that would allow fans to finally witness the culmination of the storylines left hanging, including her character's wedding. Her sentiments resonate with many viewers who felt the series' finale lacked a satisfying conclusion, leaving numerous questions unanswered. In the interview, Dennings conveyed her belief that the fans deserved a proper farewell, reflecting the bond that had formed between the audience and the characters. She recognized the impact that the show had on its viewers, and her enthusiasm for providing closure indicates a genuine appreciation for the series' legacy. The notion of a reunion special, while ambitious, aligns with trends in television where beloved shows often return for limited series or specials to tie up loose ends and satisfy fans' nostalgia. In a way, that is the unpredictable nature of television, where shows can be canceled unexpectedly, leaving cast members and fans feeling unsettled. In an era where reboots and revivals have become increasingly popular, the idea of returning to revisit the lives of Caroline and Max remains a prospect for fans who continue to cherish the characters. But, as much as she loved the show just like a fan, she was a problem too. 10. Kat was outgrowing the role. After the abrupt end of Two Broke Girls, Kat Dennings dove headfirst into a variety of projects that showcased her versatility as an actress. While the cancellation left fans yearning for closure, Dennings was far from idle. In fact, she quickly shifted gears, demonstrating her ability to take on diverse roles across different genres. One of her significant ventures post Two Broke Girls was her role in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Darcy Lewis. She reprised this fan-favorite character in WandaVision, the Disney Plus series that had audiences in a chokehold with its unique blend of sitcom nostalgia and superhero drama. Her performance was well received, and it allowed Dennings to reconnect with her comic roots while also exploring the depth of her character in new ways. WandaVision not only reignited her popularity, but also opened doors for further projects within the MCU. In addition to her return to the Marvel franchise, Dennings also took on the lead role in the Hulu original series Dollface. This show, which premiered in late 2019, features Dennings as a woman who has to navigate the modern dating landscape while rekindling her friendships after a breakup. The series was praised for its humor and relatable themes, further solidifying Dennings' status as a talented comedic actress. But with that, she kind of just outgrew Alex. Kat was the heart of the show, and her comedy was keeping it afloat. With her moving on to other things, the rest of the cast just couldn't keep up. With all of these somewhat normal reasons compounding, Two Broke Girls had no hope. Do you agree? Or was it something even deeper?